live. You see they're dry. You see there's no marrow in the bone. You see they're scattered all over the valley. They ain't even full skeletons. I mean, the bones are scattered all over the valley. They're just bones. But answer me a question, Ezekiel. Can these bones live? Ezekiel answers the only way he knows how to answer. Lord, you know. Critical race theory was born out of critical legal theory. Am I teaching y'all something today? There emerged two common beliefs linking all critical race theories. First, white supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's just a fact. How in the world are you going to fight against that being taught in any school? White supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's a fact. Why don't you want that to be taught in school? You let your schools teach us that Columbus discovered America. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that George Washington couldn't tell a lie. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that some slave owners were beneficent and good slave owners. There were no good slave owners. Anybody who owned people was evil. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that Abraham Lincoln was good for Negroes. No, Abraham Lincoln was trying to save the Union. And Abe Lincoln himself said if he could save the Union and keep black people in chains, he would do it. That's a lie. Come on, somebody. You let them teach us about a white Jesus. You let them teach us that Native Americans were the aggressors. Come on, somebody. That white folk had a manifest destiny and that the pilgrims were good and Native Americans. That's a lie. All day, every day, you let them teach us lies. All throughout my history in school, I was taught lies. But you got a problem with critical race theory because it teaches the truth that white supremacy has subordinated black people and people of color. The right to bear arms. Let me just back up a little bit and let me take you on back to the late 1960s when Ronald Reagan was the governor of California. And they were oppressing black folk, and a group of men and women known as the Black Panther Party decided that they were going to defend the rights of black folk. And the Black Panthers decided that the Second Amendment wasn't just for white folk. So they strapped themselves with guns and showed up at the Capitol in California. And when they saw them Negroes with guns, come on, somebody. That's why I say if you ever really want to get gun laws changed, just strap all these Negroes up. They'll change them laws before the week is over. When the Black Panthers, watch this, I want you to read, the California legislator passed what was called the Mulford Act. It was a gun control act that decided who could get guns, who couldn't get guns, what could be in your background, what couldn't be in your background. It was the first time in history that the National Rifle Association, the NRA, supported restrictive gun legislation, all because black folk had the nerve to get strapped. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, go get strapped. Amen, somebody. Y'all gonna say Bishop told us to get strapped. I said it. Go get strapped. It just got real quiet up in here. But y'all already know I'm a triple P. Amen. Y'all know what a triple P is, right? A pistol packing preacher. Amen, somebody. Peace, y'all. Good morning. Let me see if I can get my face on here. All right, there we go. There we go. Good morning, y'all. As you know, I start out Friday with some jazz, and so I got some Coltrane playing in the background that y'all can't hear because Facebook will shut my stream off if I play it live on the air. So you can go to WTCCFM.org if you want to hear that, or you can wait until I play something that y'all can listen to. But good morning. Do me a favor, rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. Try to get Instagram on board here. There they go. They're live. Good morning to the Gram. Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, Twitter. Do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Tell a friend we're here. All right, y'all. Let's get it. About to throw on some Otis Redding. About to kick on some Otis right about now. There we go. All right. We ready to go now, y'all. Them young girls, they do get weary wearing that old shaggy dress. Try a little. Today we're talking about the complexities of black politics. All right, y'all. While she's there waiting, try a little tenderness. Interesting. Easier to bear. 413-736-2781, y'all. Try a little tenderness. Never Let's do this.
But the essence of growth is changing. The being in the road will be the end of the road if you refuse to change. Reach a little higher, reach a little higher, dig a little deeper, dig a little deeper, go a little further, go a little further. Come on, come on, come on. Reach a little higher, come on, yeah. Dig a little deeper, dig a little deeper, go a little further, go a little further. Don't stop, come on, don't stop. The essence of life is growth. But the essence of growth is change. The being in the road will be the end of the road if you refuse to change. Your life will never change until you get disgusted with where you are. Whatever you don't hate is what you tolerate. You must learn from the past, plan for the future, and live for today. For it is your daily routine that determines your success or failure in life. It's the choices that you have made up until this point that will determine the rest of
90.7 WTCC. Good morning and welcome to the Black Love Experience. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan, the second TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. It is the weekend, y'all. And I welcome you to another edition of the Black Love Experience. Welcome to everybody in the Pioneer Valley, everybody who's chiming in across Massachusetts, Vermont, Connecticut, wherever you're here from, and those across the ether through the World Wide Web, through our social media platforms. Good morning to each and every one of you. Please rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you are chiming in from. Raleigh, North Carolina, checking in. Springfield checking in, Chicago checking in, Dallas, Texas is checking in, Houston is checking in. All right, all right. Let me see where we at Graham wise.
is checking in.
Oh,
All right,
there we go.
right.
I gotta turn the sound down. But Florida looks like
All right.
Florida is checking in on the gram. Wichita, Kansas, uh, is checking in. So a lot of y'all checking in. Um, Good morning to each of you. So listen, today I want to deal with with a particular subject. I want to deal with the complexities of Black politics, the complexities of Black politics. Oftentimes, um, people um, get this misconception
People. Um,
that Black people are a monolith, that somehow, some way, they can kind of prescribe things for Black people based upon like some universal concept of where all Black people stand, and that's just not factual. It's that, and they don't deal with any other community like that. And I know part of the issue is the fact that we give 90% of our votes um, to one party. That's just real. Um, we give 90% of our votes to Democrats, and so people just assume that whatever the Democrat platform is, that's where Black people come down on. That's what it is. And so um, they try to deal with us as some universal group that all thinks the same, all want the same thing, um, and therefore we should be able to do one-stop shopping when it comes to Black people, and that's just not the reality of what it is. Um, so we want to deal with that. 413-736-2781. 413-736-2781 is the number here if you want to chime in on the conversation. Tell a friend, tell somebody. Bishop is on the air right now. I see you, Florida. I see you, Detroit, checking in. I see you, Toronto, checking in. Who else we got here? Kansas City. I see you checking in. Good morning to each and every one of you. We'll be right back. Don't y'all go nowhere. All right. We're coming back momentarily. Let me see if I can get this to play. For some reason, my Spotify is acting real crazy right now. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We are going to we're going to put our background music on, and we'll get right into our conversation, and we'll figure that out later. How about that? Now, some of you on Facebook, I saw somebody say they couldn't hear. If you can hear me on Facebook, let me know you can hear me. I just need to make sure. I need to make sure that we don't have a problem with people hearing me. Let me know if you can hear me on the book. Let me know you can hear me. All right. We'll be right back.
Together for you and our children in all kinds of weather. And now suddenly you say we're not good enough for you. We forced you to sell out because of the things we did. Well, where was that white woman when that white man you hate was cracking the whip? In the boardroom, the warehouse, and on the slave ship. She stood by his side and didn't say a word, waiting for her own chance to rule and be heard. And now it's her you turn to and treat like a queen? And me and my sisters you choose to demean? Well, hold up, wait a minute, and stop the damn bus. Because there are a few things I need to remind you about us. Listen up. A more beautiful creature God never made than an African woman, no matter her shade. High, yellow, red bone, or cocoa brown, we are more than worthy of wearing a crown. Ebony, mocha, or black as the night. It is we who have always shared in your plight. We are passionate, spiritual, loving, and kind. A more generous heart you'll never find than the one that beats inside the body of a Nubian queen, the hardest working, loving, giving woman you've ever seen. But we give and forgive until there's little left. Then we're forced to put up our guard to avoid your theft. The theft of our hearts and our trust, the very nature of our soul, by our so-called brothers who are just playing a role. And you wonder why some of us act as we do? Take a look in the mirror, because the answer is you. It's not enough that the white man has always tried to keep us down, but our own men act as though they'd love to see us drown. And white women have never invited us to join their equal rights struggle. So we're out here alone with a million things we juggle, raising the children that black men leave behind, and dealing with the racism of the daily corporate grind. Damn, it's no wonder some of us are loud. Hell, we're just trying to be heard. In a world where everyone, including our men, ignore our every word. Where are the brothers who understand a black woman's worth? Right here. Who will protect and stand by us, for we are the salt of this earth. We birthed you, raised you, and showered you with love. It was we who taught you to love your creator above. We gave you all we had and taught you to be men. Open your eyes, it is us, your black sisters, not Bo Derek's kind who rate a perfect 10. And one final word for the sellout to claim to be brothers. When you turn your back on us, you disrespect your mothers. Did you hear that?
90.7 WTCC. That's a response to the sellout. That's Rhonda Swan, for those of you who want to go check out that and other things that she has on streaming services. You definitely owe it to yourself to check it out. 413-736-2781. 413-736-2781 is the number here if you want to chime in on today's conversation, getting into um, the complexities of black politics. Um, and here's the thing, brothers and sisters, it's not only um, those in the majority um, community, and by majority, I simply mean more of them. Um, and that's in the context of the United States, that white folks outnumber um, black people. Um, um, Not in the world, because in the world, non-white folks outnumber white folks 11-1. So, um, but in this context, um, when I say majority community, I'm talking about the U.S. And it's not just that white folks kind of look at us as a monolith and deal with us like that. Thank you, loud and clear. Um, we do that to ourselves. We have this expectation that we're all supposed to conform to some specific norm. I don't know who sets that norm, um, but we're supposed to galvanize around all the same issues, all the same candidates for elected office, all of the same concerns, um, without taking into account our own diversity and the fact that we're all not the same. We all have different religious and theological viewpoints. We all have different political um, ideologies. We all have different philosophical viewpoints. We are a myriad of people, and though we're bound together through a racial identity that has many of us having shared experiences in a white supremacist society, it doesn't mean that we're monolithic people. Um, Case in point, here in my city, there's been a controversy about an op-ed that was written by a publisher of a black newspaper who was upset because all black people didn't galvanize around his son as a candidate. That everybody was supposed to just do that. Like, black people don't have a diversity of concerns and issues that are important to them, and that would cause uh, some to go this way, some to go that way, some not to vote at all. But somehow they expected that every black person was supposed to, you know, go one way, and that's just not reality in any way, shape, or form. Um, and like I said, they never expect that of white folks or Asian folks or Latino folk or anyone else, but somehow, some way, black people are all supposed to be on the same bandwagon. Now, I'm not quite sure where that comes from. I'm not quite sure why people think um, that they can appeal to us through one set of values or principles or whatever it may be, um, and that we're not supposed to have a myriad of different concerns and all of that. You know, Somebody's got to help me understand that, because I don't get it. I just don't get it. 413-736-2781. 413-736-2781. And I think it has become painstakingly clear with this 2024 presidential election approaching. Um, well, it's already here, really. Already had the Iowa caucuses, now going into the New Hampshire primaries. If you all remember,
4 years ago, Joe Biden had encountered a number of awkward moments with black voters by looking at us in this manner. You all remember he was telling black voters if they were considering voting for anybody other than him, they ain't black. You know, if you ain't gonna vote for me, you ain't black. And then he told reporters that the Latino community is incredibly diverse, unlike the black community. He actually said that. You know, the black community ain't diverse. You know, and that's it. That's how people take us. That we're all the same. We all look alike. We all vote alike. We all think alike. Um, all of that, and they don't understand the complexity of black people's politics. And like I said, this is probably a byproduct of the fact that so many support the Democratic Party. 82% of black people identify as Democrats, and 90% cast their ballots for the Democratic Party's nominees, many times above 90%. And so it appears at times that black people are monolithic. Because if partisanship is politics and politics is partisanship, then black partisanship um, tells them what they think they know about black people's politics. Choosing a political party and a candidate to support, though, are only two expressions of individual politics. So, yeah, black people are overwhelmingly Democrat. And like most Americans, they vote in line with a partisan identity. But if you check the record, you know, you, you would know from debates among black people and from the historical record that black Americans, like members of any group, they disagree with each other about politics. Even those who are in the same party, they have very stark disagreements, you know. So, in other words, black people's politics cannot and should not be reduced to partisanship. There are other markers that better showcase the diversity of black political thought. Um, you know, um, what we, how we identify ideologically. Um, there's much more diversity in our ideological identities than in our partisan identities. So, in other words, you can have different ideologies even when you're voting for the same party. If you go back to the 2016 election, 45% of black Americans identified as liberal, 43% identified as conservative, yet over 90% voted for one party. Does that mean because those who identified as conservative, because they didn't vote Republican, does that mean that they weren't truly conservative? No, that's not what that means. That means they chose not to support that party platform. It did not mean they didn't share some conservative viewpoints. The problem is a large subset of black Americans don't identify with any of the labels that are placed upon folks as being either liberal or conservative or progressive when discussing politics. Those terms that are familiar to people who participate in certain types of elite political discourse are, first of all, many times they're unfamiliar. People don't really know what you mean. What do you mean by liberal? What do you mean by progressive? What do you mean by conservatives? To many black folks, it's just not a part of their political lexicon. Um, um, and so they don't like to be pigeonholed in by a particular label. And the other thing is, black voters can have what you would consider a liberal political bent on certain issues and a very conservative political bent on other issues. Um, um, so you really can't pigeonhole them into this labeling of where they stand in terms of their political ideology. Um, so what do we do if we want to get a more accurate portrait of black political opinion? You got to look at their policy preferences. What policies are important to them? What do they think about various economic and social policies? Where do they come down on issues where the rubber meets the road, quality of life issues, financial issues? And you'll find that black folks have diverse views. They got divergent views on government spending, divergent views on reproductive rights, on sexual identity, on religious freedom. They've got different opinions on crime and welfare. And oftentimes, black public opinion is more complex. When you ask the question about should, for instance, Joe Biden had proposed to spend $13 billion to put 100 new cops on the street. And so on the question of whether spending on crime should be increased, decreased, or kept the same, 84% of black folks actually thought spending should be increased, but they didn't think it should be increased simply on putting new cops on the streets. Okay. They have a different perspective on how that money should be spent. And so the diversity in the preferences of black people suggests that you got to be very wary of folks who always try to lump us together as the black community. Like the whole black community supports any particular party's policies. And we got black folks who are always guilty of talking about what the community wants. And so my question often is, well, who is the community that you talking about? I've had people who have threatened to get the community on me. and I've been doing this for far too long to be threatened by that, because I know ain't nary one of y'all command the community, the so-called community. If you don't do this, the community, yeah, who? Your cousins and them? What community are you talking about? There's no monolithic community that all galvanizes around any one particular issue. There might be a few people who are part of the community that are around that issue, but we got to stop acting like the whole black community is in lockstep. There's no issue that we're all in lockstep on. I don't care what the issue is. Policing, reparations, abortion, homosexuality, education, you name it, we're all over the place. There is no one community perspective. There is no mayor of the black community who gets to say where the black community stands on any particular issue. And then there's this ongoing argument, even in our own community, about who is a leader. And it's the stupidest debate that I think is out there. It's a dumb debate. You know, everybody wants to define who's a leader, who isn't a leader. And if you don't agree with me, you're not a leader. If you don't agree with my political perspective, if you don't support my political candidate, if you don't speak to the issues the way I think you ought to speak to the issues, you don't represent the black community and you're not a leader. Like you are, like you represent all black people. Like they all agree with you. People are leaders of those that they lead. Plain and simple. And the crazy thing is, nobody is out here claiming to be the leader of all black people. Hey, no, y'all never heard anybody out here say that they were the leader of black people. Y'all never heard nobody out here saying that. And so, you know, when people come for you talking about how you're not a leader, it's because they know that you are. Otherwise, they know that you are perceived to be a leader. Otherwise, they wouldn't have to try to debunk or refute whether or not you are one. The only reason anybody's trying to refute, so they're not a real leader, the only reason you're trying to refute that is because you know that people view them as one. And you're salty about the fact that they're viewed as a leader, so you're trying to tear down their credibility. And here's the thing, let people lead who they lead. If you got your little 6 or 7 people, go and lead them. You know, don't try to convince everybody. See, here's the thing. I don't care how many newspaper articles you write. You're not going to convince the people that follow me that I'm not a leader. You're not going to convince them that. You're wasting your time. It's a futile effort. Those who have accepted my leadership, who follow my leadership, whether it's the people in my local church, in my jurisdiction, in my denomination, in the NAACP, in my fraternity, wherever they may come from, you're not going to convince those people who accept my leadership that I'm not a leader. And I'm not going to waste my time trying to convince the 6 people that follow you that you're not a leader. That's a waste of time. I don't think any one person is out here claiming to be the leader of all black people. So when I have a publisher say, he's not my leader, Negro, I never claimed to be your leader. I never claimed to be your leader. You've got your own political ideology, your theological perspective, your worldview. Speak to your worldview and influence those that you can influence to follow your line of thinking, and I'll do the same thing. I'm not competing with you for the folks you got influence over, and you can't compete with me for the people I got influence over. So we do a whole lot of non-productive bickering in our community, trying to define the people that we don't like as not being leaders. Yeah, it's really a waste of time. It really is a waste of time. Nobody who follows me is going to pick up your article and say, gee, I'm going to stop following Bishop Swan because so-and-so said they're not a leader. Come on, y'all. We got to do better than that. Got to do better than that. Influence the folks you influence. I influence the folks I influence. And check this out. When we can agree on something, guess what? We can all come together and affect change in that area of agreement. Right? Doesn't that make sense? It makes sense to me. It makes sense. Mark has been banned. What did I miss, Whitney? Mark who? What was Mark talking about? I guess I'll catch up later. Somebody's cutting up on social media, obviously, because my daughter, who moderates, just banned somebody. Y'all better stop it. Now, one thing my daughter don't play when it comes to her daddy, for real. You can't talk out the side of your neck on my platform and not be gone bye-bye. 413-736-2781. 413-736-2781. So somebody might say, so Bishop, why does any of this matter? Why does any of this matter? First, we should have an accurate portrait of the diversity of Black political thought. Okay? And it's important for those who are interested in convincing Black Americans to support their viewpoint or their candidacy. You've got to recognize that disagreements that exist among Black voters are a reality. And if you're going to build a coalition of Black support, you've got to build it around a diversity of issues and viewpoints. Secondly, when you reduce the politics of any group to a singular fact, it limits your understanding of the essence of their political identity. See, the key takeaway is there is no Black vote. Okay? What do I mean? There is no universal Black vote. And even when Black folks vote for the same candidate or for the same party, it's for a diversity of reasons. And then there is no cohesive Black community. When I was on the air on Christmas, I was talking about different foods. I was kind of surprised, when we were talking about favorite desserts and stuff. I figured, certain things were universal among black people. I didn't know we had so many people who like pumpkin pie. I didn't know bread pudding would come in number 2 after sweet potato pie. We're diverse. We're diverse. And you cannot simply take black people for granted and not deal with the issues of concern for black people. You can't do that. And you can't just deal with one or two issues. Yeah, let me go there for a minute. Because oftentimes when people deal with black issues, they always try to deal with police issues, criminal justice reform, that they call it, as if all black people are concerned about criminal justice reform. It's an important issue for sure, because the criminal justice system does disparately affect black folks. But do y'all know there's a lot of black folk that ain't really concerned about that because they ain't never been to jail? They don't have a criminal record to get expunged. But we kind of pigeonhole one or two issues as the black issues, as if black people aren't concerned about education, student loan debt, living wages, as if we're not concerned about economic issues and environmental issues and all kinds of other. Black folks are concerned about everything everybody else is concerned with. And so you make the mistake by thinking you can appeal to the entire swath of the black community through one or two issues. That's not how that happens. That's not how that works. And then when you have black voices that are raised in a dissenting manner, in a manner which calls into question how we're handled, instead of trying to address those concerns, often what happens is people try to silence those voices. And we see that happen all the time. In 1962, Fannie Lou Hamer was fired from her job because she campaigned to encourage black people to vote. 2 years later, in 1964, she testified at the Democratic National Convention in support of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, specifically their efforts to further black voter registration. Then President Lyndon Baines Johnson called a news conference to make it impossible for national television networks to cover her testimony. I want you to understand how this happened. He did not want the nation to see Fannie Lou Hamer testify at the DNC. So as president, he used his bully pulpit to call a press conference because he knew all of the national press would cover the president and would not carry Fannie Lou Hamer's testimony live. It was a way to try to silence her voice. And this type of silencing has been used generation after generation against marginalized voices. It's nothing new. Um, it's been used to ensure that America never has to face a hard truth. And that hard truth is that its foundation, its very roots are racist. Contrary to what Nimrata Haley, known as Nikki Haley, have to say, its roots are racist. And even today, efforts at silencing black voices are used with common tactics against those who speak the truth. Y'all remember several years ago, it happened to the black men who took a knee at their NFL games. It cost Colin Kaepernick his NFL career because they wanted to protest the killing of black bodies at the hands of police. It happened to Black Lives Matter activists who were censored by the social media algorithms, those same algorithms that protect white supremacists. Um, it happens to black representatives that are elected to represent us in government. Um, Back before she became vice president, Kamala Harris was on the Senate Intelligence Committee. She was at a hearing. At the time, Jeff Sessions was the Attorney General, and she was the only senator to be reprimanded by her colleagues for asking the question about Jeff Sessions, certain questions about Jeff Sessions. And they wanted to censor her, silence her for doing that. Because silencing happens when hearing the truth is too much. When their fragility kicks in and it's just too much for them to hear the truth, then they go on a silencing expedition. When the truth is painfully heavy, they'd rather get rid of the person speaking the truth than to actually face the issue head on. And so there's a that's the reason why they want to deal with us as if we're a monolith, that, we carve out these two issues to deal with black people. We don't want to hear about the other concerns of the black community. And we want to marginalize and silence the voices that talk about those other concerns. We don't want to hear nothing about no reparations and what America owes black people. We don't really want to hear about racism. That's why, we're trying to take any teaching that highlights America's historical racism, trying to take it out of the curriculum, trying to remove it, trying to water it down, trying to pretend it doesn't exist. That's why Nikki Haley is going on this, is doubling down about America's not a racist country, and she's just echoing things that other people have said. And here's the thing. I condemned her for saying that. And people are dragging her for saying that. But guess who else said it? Joe Biden. Kamala Harris. James Clyburn. Yeah, they all said the same thing Nikki Haley said. Yet you go to social media now, it's buzzing because Nikki Haley said America's not a racist country. Something high-level Democrats have been saying. And to many of y'all, it's an issue because this Republican Indian woman who wants to be white said it. And you all are giving her the business like y'all never gave Kamala Harris for saying the same thing. The same thing. I mean, we just got to be consistent in terms of how we're handling those things. Let's just keep it a buck. Let's just be real about it. You know, if it's wrong for her, it's got to be wrong for everybody else, right? I'm just saying, right? I mean, if America is a racist country and we're condemning somebody for saying it's not a racist country, then let's not just condemn Nikki Haley for saying that. Let's condemn the fact that the Vice President of the United States said the same thing. Yeah. Let me make a couple of announcements before I transition out of the program. Coming up at 10 o'clock is Don Felton with Mid-Morning Jazz and great black music. He is going to make it personal for you. The Lift Every Voice lecture series starts in February 13th. Domingo Guyton will be with us. Let me get the subjects that they are talking about so you know exactly. If I could find it, so you know exactly what's being discussed. I've got 4 dynamic speakers that are coming up during the month of February, during Black History Month, dealing with 4 very important topics of discussion that you all need to hear. And of course, I can't find it when I want to talk to you about it. Any other time, they're right there in my face. But I'm going to get it. There we go. All right. Excuse me. Let's go. I thought I had the graphic there. Well, it's not loading. So anyway, Brother Domingo Guyton, there we go. I got it now. So Domingo is coming on February 13th. He's a film producer, music artist, an actor, and an educator. He's talking about hip hop, a culture of vision and voice. Hip hop, a culture of vision and voice. February 15th, Linda Sarsour, political activist and the co-founder of Until Freedom. She was also the co-convener of the Women's March. She's talking about from Palestine to Ukraine, the global impact of American politics. Okay. Then on February 22nd, the Reverend Siobhan Arline Bradley, the president and CEO of the National Council of Negro Women. And remember, a few years ago, I had the former CEO of the National Council of Negro Women, Dr. Avis DeWeaver, who was with us. But Reverend Bradley will be talking about the Black Women Voting Bloc, a growing force in American politics. So you want to be a part of that. And then on February 29th, the Reverend Mike McBride, a political activist and the executive director of Live Free USA, is going to be talking about peace in our times, strategies to shift the culture of violence. So February 13th, 15th, 22nd, 29th, those are the days of the Lift Every Voice lecture series. You want to be a part of that. Those are Tuesdays and Thursdays. And mark your calendar. Put that down in your calendar and plan to be there. In addition to them, we'll have local talent, recording artists, spoken word artists, dance artists, and we'll be giving out awards to some of the unsung heroes in our community, people who have been doing and continue to do great things in our city that don't get the recognition that they should get. And so plan to be a part of it, okay? I'm moving out your way. Coming up next is my man Don Felton. He's going to make it personal with you with mid-morning jazz and great black music. Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you and so do I. See you guys Monday on the spoken word. God bless. All right, I'm out. Remember what your mama said.
Remember what your mama said. Be nice, be polite, treat everybody right. Don't fuss, don't fight, try to love with all your might. Don't lie, be fair, try to show some love and care. Your mama said, mama told me to stay in school, keep the right attitude. You can be anything you wanna be if you believe. Mama told me don't be lazy. Mama told me don't